I would not be doing my absolute duty as a sports analyst and a YouTuber if I didn't give you ESPN's take on the Philadelphia 76ers. So really quickly, let's cut over to that. Yeah, so if you want to see Stephen A. Smith saying 0 points for about 15 minutes, I'm going to leave a link to that in the description down below. But I believe the problem that the Sixers are having, and it's not really even a problem, it's kind of, I would like to view it more as growing pains, is attributed to, I'd say, about 5 different things and 5 various factors. And some of it is based upon team building, based upon how this team has been constructed, whereas others is more about player development, coaching, and all that good stuff. So we're going to start with what I think is a small contributor. I don't really want to go as far as to say it's a regression because, again, you have to bear in mind we're 15 games into the season. The Sixers have won twice as many games as they have lost. They are in no means in a bad spot whatsoever. They're 5th in the Eastern Conference. The problem is, a lot of us, myself included, thought that the Sixers were going to be the top team in the East. I thought they would be doing what the Milwaukee Bucks are doing. And in case you haven't been paying attention, and I figured I'd take a moment to bring this to everyone's attention, at the moment I'm making this video, the Milwaukee Bucks are 13-4, and Giannis Antetokounmpo doesn't have Chris Middleton or Malcolm Brogdon so far. Middleton's out with an injury. Brogdon is gone. He's on the Pacers. He's doing really well for them, by the way, but I thought I'd bring that up to everyone's attention because no one seems to be talking about it. So the East is more stacked than you think with the Milwaukee Bucks. You also have the Boston Celtics, who are playing better than what most people imagined. And guess who's in 3rd place? The Miami Heat. And 4th place is the Toronto Raptors. And 5th place is the Philadelphia 76ers. And the Raptors are currently 12-4. The Heat are currently 12-4. And the Celtics are currently 12-4. But again, it's still very early in the NBA season. And huge kudos to the Raptors. We're going to have to make a video on that. So if there's anything that's popping out to you about why the Raptors are playing so well, let me know in the comment section down below. But the very first thing we need to discuss is Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons so far, a lot of people are expecting Ben Simmons to come in, year 3, his age 23 season, with a phenomenal 3-point jump shot, which, by the way, he's shooting 50% from 3-point this year, but of course he's only taken 1 shot so far. But they're expecting him to come in with a significantly improved jump shot and a much improved game, and that isn't going to happen in one off season. I don't care how many games we've seen of him this past off season shooting 3-pointers in a gym with nobody guarding him. No matter how many times you see that, it's going to take way longer than we're expecting. Now, I really feel like if Ben Simmons wants to take the next step with his jump shot, the Philadelphia 76ers need to bring in a very good shooting coach for him, because clearly I think a problem he's having is with his jump shot in itself, as opposed to just his ability to make 3-pointers. So a person that comes to mind is the New Orleans Pelicans jump shooting coach Fred Vinson, who recently completely reconstructed Lonzo Ball's jump shot. Bro, pay him whatever it takes. Bring him over to the Sixers if you want to see some improvement in Ben Simmons' jump shot, because clearly he is hitting a wall. So far, Ben Simmons in 15 games this season is averaging 13 points per game, 3.7 turnovers per game, 8 assists per game, 6.7 rebounds per game. Compared to last year, he was averaging 17 points per game, 8 assists per game, 9 rebounds per game. He was playing way better last season, but he has way more games under his belt. So let's go to his advanced stats so far. So value over replacement player is box plus minus is the estimate of the points per 100 possessions a player contributes above a league average player, translated to an average team. So in his first year, his rookie season, Ben Simmons had a box plus minus of 4.6. His second year, he had a box plus minus of 4.1. And this year so far, he has a box plus minus of 3.2. Now, if you go and you pay attention to him offensively, his rookie year, he had a box plus minus of 1.0. His sophomore year, he had a box plus minus of 1.4. And this year so far, he has a box plus minus of negative 0.1, which means Ben Simmons is kind of an offensive liability so far. But again, it's a very short season. It's been a very short season so far. It's only been 15 games. And I'm going to keep saying that throughout this video. His player efficiency rating also dipped from a 20 to a 17.7. So there is some regression in Ben Simmons' game, and that is one of the contributing factors to why the Sixers haven't been able to beat teams like the Toronto Raptors, although they were able to beat the Miami Heat a couple of days ago, and they're literally at the same place as the Toronto Raptors. But what's really bothering me about this is the last time we saw the Raptors play the Philadelphia 76ers, and I'm sure this is what's bothering every Sixers fan, and let me know in the comment section if I'm wrong here, but the last time you guys played, you were favored to win in the playoffs, and Kawhi Leonard literally ripped your heart out of your chest with this game-winning jump shot that literally bounced off of the rim and went in. Like, that literally shook so many members of the Philadelphia 76ers fan base. You saw Joel Embiid crying. You saw people roasting Joel Embiid for crying. And what bothers a lot of people, myself included, and yes, to reference Stephen A. Smith over here, is the fact that Joel Embiid scored 0 points last night. Now, as you watch Joel Embiid play, and just compared to the way he's been playing this year as opposed to last year, the first thing you have to bear in mind is Joel Embiid at least claims that he lost about 20 pounds coming into this season. And as a result, you would expect the player that lost 20 pounds to be a little bit more nimble, faster, playing with more energy, playing with more excitement. But Joel Embiid doesn't look like any of that. Joel Embiid is moving around like he's the Miami Heat or Phoenix Suns version of Shaquille O'Neal. He's playing very lethargically. He's playing a very lazy game as well. He's taking a lot more deep twos and contested three-pointers, which is never a good sign, because that pretty much means that, okay, a contested three-pointer, YOLO, if this goes in, I'm going to shoot it. If it goes in, fantastic. If not, whatever. He's not really working as much in the post, which is where he should be. So currently, at the moment I'm making this video, Joel Embiid does lead the league in how many possessions per game. He posts up with 7.5. However, when you look at how frequently he scores from that area, it's 52.6%, which is fairly decent, although it's not as consistent as a player like Aaron Baines or Andrew Wiggins or Harrison Barnes or Cody Zeller or Enes Kanter, Eric Pascal, Luka Doncic, Jabari Parker, Miles Turner, Clint Capella, Brooke Lopez, Hassan Whiteside, Robin Lopez, LeBron James, Marquise Chris, Danilo Gallinari, DeMar DeRozan, Kawhi Leonard, Marvin Williams, Rodney Hood, Miles Bridges. But it's fairly consistent. He's scoring from the post as often as we'd expect him to. So what's the problem with Joel Embiid? If you pay attention to Joel Embiid so far this year, his minutes are 29 minutes per game. Like last year it was 33, but the year before it was 30. And I guess you could attribute the 4-minute differential for the reason why he went from scoring 28 points per game to 21 points per game, but that doesn't make any sense. I think for Joel Embiid, it's mainly a motivation thing. I feel like the playoff loss last year may have destroyed him a little bit, or you could even attribute it to the fact that he has a brand new front court running mate in Al Horford, and he's just trying to work out the spacing with him. But the thing is, both of those players are capable of shooting from the perimeter, so what could be causing Joel Embiid's problems? Which brings us to Brett Brown, and I really think that a huge issue with what Joel Embiid is going through is the way Brett Brown is using him. I'm seeing a lot of dribbling around the perimeter from Joel Embiid as opposed to putting him in a position to succeed in the post. But I also think that Joel Embiid clearly isn't capable of being the go-to guy in tough situations. I don't think Al Horford's capable of that guy, of, the person that you're going to pass the ball to nail the game-winning jump shot. I don't think Tobias Harris or Ben Simmons is capable of being that guy. And that's the problem that the Sixers currently have. They have a lot of all-star players, and a couple of them are even capable of one day becoming superstars. And Joel Embiid seemed to be on that trend up until his recent regression. But that's exactly the problem. They don't really have a head guy that could take over the game in those moments. That used to be Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler wanted to go to South Beach. There was nothing the Sixers could have done about it. So instead they maxed out Tobias Harris. Tobias Harris is a phenomenal player, but I don't think he was worth the contract that he has been given. Yeah, sure, he has been averaging 19 points per game so far, but in terms of defense, he does give you average defense. He's not a liability by any means necessary, but at the same time, you have to wonder what the Sixers could have done as opposed to maxing out a player like Tobias Harris. So what would be my solution to this team? Well, it's kind of funny. They actually are in the market for a scorer. They are a beautifully constructed team. And Al Horford, Ben Simmons, Joel Embiid, and Tobias Harris is a good enough nucleus to make it out of the East, in my opinion, if they are coached properly or put into the proper system to succeed. I really would like to see them sign a potential scorer or a closer that could really hit that game-winning shot if they need him to, or a volume microwave type of player such as Jamal Crawford. And I believe that's the type of player that could get them out of those difficult situations where Joel Embiid can't really score or is having an off night. Ben Simmons can't really run in transition and find his teammates as well as he typically does, or any of those players have an off night. I feel like Jamal Crawford could fill in that void. Again, Josh Richardson's a phenomenal role player. I really like the way the bench looks as well for the Sixers. Now, I don't think it's time to panic yet, but at the end of the day, I think the signing of Jamal Crawford, and of course, I'm going to be monitoring the way Brett Brown coaches the Sixers, because I've seen him mismanage a lot of late game situations. Things like not calling a timeout when you're supposed to, or not coaching your players well enough, which results in turnovers.